So I've got a little bit of a gripe with this lens, specifically on my FX6. Autofocus was pretty average, but with any other camera, it's been pretty good. So I'm assuming that's just the autofocus when it comes to the FX6, but this is a bit of a beefy lens. It's the 28-70 f2 lens. It is obviously a lot smaller than the Canon version, 917 grams. Now that's not too bad when it comes to an f2 lens. Now, obviously it's gonna cover the 28 all the way through to 17 millimeters. I guess their whole reasoning is to try and replace a whole bunch of prime lenses. And does that do it? Is f2 enough compared to the G Master's f1.4? What's the versatility like on a couple of different jobs? Because I did test this on a couple of different jobs. And look, there's another small con with this lens for videographers, and we do have to talk about it as well. So the Sony 28-70 f2 is a G Master lens. It has a maximum aperture of f2 to a minimum aperture of f22. It has a declickable or clickable aperture ring. It also has an aperture ring lock, a smooth or light adjustment for the zoom ring. It has two custom function buttons, a manual to autofocus switch, an 86mm front filter thread. The barrel does extend a little bit when zooming from 28 to 70mm, and it weighs a total of 917 grams. Now I got that heavy FX6 rig out of my hands. That is intense. Obviously, I do rig the FX6 up a little bit heavier because there is no IBIS, so it does take a lot of the micro jitters out, so it is a lot more beneficial in my situations. I love when I film my sports to have that natural motion. When it's too steady, in my opinion, I don't think sports looks good when it's super steady. But let's get into this 28-70 lens. Now, when I did mount it on my FX6, I was having focusing issues, mainly in the indoor shoot when it came to filming cam. Obviously, when it comes to gym situations, it is super busy. There's so much, going on when it comes to shooting through objects, and there's a whole bunch of machines and different contrast ratios. But look, in all honesty, looking back at the footage, it seems as though it's when Cam sort of, his head sort of goes out of frame, it doesn't really detect that that's his body, so it kind of loses focus and attaches on to something close or in the distance. There was a few different situations this happened, and that is most likely just the FX6. It isn't the lens at all, or it could be a pair of both of them. It is a pre-production lens, so we do expect there to be potential bugs when it comes to autofocus, but I just believe it is the FX6 and just the way that the algorithm is in the FX6, because it doesn't have that separate AI processor that you see in the Sony ZV-E1, the Burano, and all the newer Sony cameras that's getting this. And look, when I did actually film Desi Johnson out on the track, doing some sled training, it performed perfectly fine. So it was probably just the situation inside the gym where it's quite dark. I did still have my own key lights. It's the exact same situation that I'm always in when it comes to, filming cam in the gym. When it comes to Desi, it was just natural light and relatively early in the morning, and it performed perfectly fine when I was zooming in, zooming out, going close. So yeah, I do just think it's the FX6 and that particular situation. But look, when it came to mounting it on the A7 IV for stills, when it came to Desi, perfectly fine. It did the job. I had absolutely no issues when it came to autofocus and actually tracking her running down the track and her, coming back up as well. Okay, one downside that a lot of people aren't going to like, specifically video shooters, is that front filter thread. 86mm at the front. A lot of ND filters pretty much cap out at 82mm, and I wasn't able to use my ND filters on there, but luckily I do have the FX6, so that's perfectly fine. Got inbuilt ND filters, and that suited me perfectly fine. Now, there is one fix that I do have, and that is the Tilta Mirage matte box system. That does have a variable ND filter in that, so I was able to utilize the Tilta Mirage matte box system in that. Sure, it's not amazing when it comes to the ND. There's a little bit of IR pollution. There's a bit of color tinting as well. It sort of changed it really warm and kind of strange colors, but I still can use ND filters there. But 86mm, yeah, that is tough for videographers. So look, an f2 at a 28-70. Now, it is a very strange sort of focal length, but I am perfectly fine and used to that. The only 24 to 70 sort of style lens that I've personally got is the 28 to 75 Tamron lens, and it's the original. I have had zero need to replace it, mainly for the fact that I use prime lenses all the time. The 50 f1.2, the 24 f1.4 that you guys are seeing now, and I've also got the 35 f1.4 that I don't really use as much. It's usually the 24 and the 50mm lens I sort of go between, and then potentially the 85mm f1.8 lens. I've got the f1.4, but it's the older f1.4. Performs horrible in autofocus, specifically on my FX6. Those two just do not work well together. But if you are someone that wants to do a lot of run and gun sort of work, 28 to 70 is perfectly fine. Will that be wide enough, you know, compared to your 24 to 70? Is there a big difference between the 28mm and 24mm? I mean, look, it's not really that noticeable, and yes, in a lot of situations there's only so far you can actually get back to try and fit that same frame in. Specifically if you are indoors or you're doing a whole bunch of landscape or architecture stuff, 4mm can make a massive difference on that wider end. When it comes to the longer end, you don't really notice it as much. It's mainly that wider end, but you are trading an f2.8 for an f2, a constant f2, so you're going to get better low light performance, obviously a little bit better bokeh performance as well, so your depth of field will actually be a little bit more shallow, so you have more to control. But if you are trying to, you know, get a little bit more depth of field, more low light, obviously fast G Master primes are going to be the best bet, and that's what I've done. But run and gun people that don't have time to change the lens, specifically on gimbals and stuff, this is going to be a great lens, and that's why I have the 28 to 75 f2.8, or that's why a lot of people have the 24 to 70 f2.8. Now look, image quality performs absolutely incredible at f2 in comparison to the G Master primes. Like, it performs just as good, and don't forget, this is a zoom lens, so you are pretty much replacing like a 28, a 35, a 50, and almost an 85. I mean, it goes up to 70, but you're replacing a whole bunch of different primes just for one zoom lens. So that is great. So look, I don't want to dive too deep into the image quality chart because it's pretty much perfect. It's a G Master lens, wide open. At f2, you can see at 28mm, there is barrel distortion. There's a little bit of vignetting as well, but this can be corrected with the profiles. If you go to 35mm, it's fairly straight when it comes to the distortion, and 50mm there's a bit of pin cushioning, and 70mm there's pin cushioning as well. But overall, fantastic sharpness from center to edge, and it's pretty expected from a G Master lens. And when it comes to the LOCA performance, there's pretty much none at 28, 35, 50, and 70mm. It's pretty clean when it comes to that. And it also is clean when it comes to the flaring, controls extremely well all throughout the focal range, fantastic performance, and like I said, it's just expected from a G Master lens to be clinically clean. Now when it comes to the size itself, it is significantly bigger than the 24 to 70 G Master lens, but it's so much smaller than the Canon lens as well. Like, there is a significant weight difference and size difference between these two. And I know Sony is a little bit late to the game on this lens, but it's better late than never, literally. Like, this is still a fantastic lens for a lot of people to, you know, go around, do landscape stuff, do portrait stuff, street photography, even just a basic travel lens. Like, this is fantastic. And you know, it's a G Master lens, so it's going to have superior weather sealing. It's going to have superior build quality in compared to standard G lenses or third-party lenses. Now look, the price. Yes, it is expensive, but it is a G Master lens, and we do expect it to be at that higher premium price. But if you already have the 24 to 70 or G Master primes, this lens probably isn't for you. This is probably for someone looking to get into the G Master zooms, and if they don't have the 24 to 70 like me, potentially that is a lens to actually go for. So anyway, my friends, let me know your thoughts in the comments below. I want to know if you're going to be buying this, or if this is something that you would consider, or you don't like it. Just let me know. I'm looking forward to reading your comments below. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one. All right, let's get it.